So we've got the all-V Literbike Shootout. First thoughts, the standard bearer Ducati 1198S. What do you think, Pete?
It's the kind of the old boy of this group now, but it's nice to get on it and be reminded of all the things I like about it. Pretty much an unflappable chassis. A little bit of energy to get it turned in initially, but once it's set in the turn, it's got telepathic handling and just unflinching. Anything you want to do, line changes, it does not protest. And of course, ferocious engine as well. Great set of Brembos on it. All three bikes have monoblocks.
For me, the 1198, when I got off my last session, I'm like, how could this bike, a bike this good, maybe not win this shootout?
It's hard to find any real serious problem with the Ducati. And the fact that you've got traction control on the S model is a nice bonus that you don't find with the other two.
That's right. It stands alone in that respect. And here at Buttonwillow in this configuration we're at, that back straightaway, I can't believe how hard that Ducati motor pulled. It is a monster. It just yanks.
Yeah, that's a good point. And after having ridden the Duck and then got on the RSV, the strength that comes through the Ducati is more torque out of the twin. You can run a gear higher and it'll just tractor out of a turn. You're just running one gear too high, where the Aprilia doesn't quite have that pull off the bottom.
Now we got the RC8 coming in, another V-twin contender, and for me, I'm really impressed that KTM can build a bike that could even compete with something that Ducati's been developing for the past 30 years, essentially.
It may not be all that the Aprilia and the Duck are, but it's an excellent first effort from a company rather, that is traditionally just done off-road machine. We have another one that doesn't have a lot of problems and does a lot of things well. So
for me, the only thing it doesn't do well is the throttle. It's a light spring, and then it's really touchy throttle response, and it really made you think every time you're in a corner with one of the many bumps here at Buttonwillow. It was the only thing that it did wrong, but it really stood out as a glaring deficiency.
It made it difficult to be smooth, especially in low-speed turns. From closed to open, it's just instant on, and it's not a little bit of a burble or anything, it's just a smack of power right away, and it's a little disconcerting.
But a good chassis, turns in a little quicker than the Ducati. The suspension, after we had Race Tech do it was really good suspension. And on the street, I really love the adjustability. Having the tail section you can adjust, foot pegs, and then the bars. We had them on the high position for the street. It was super comfy. And then on the track, we just, in a matter of 3 minutes, we could lower the bars, and it was a track-ready, capable machine.
Indeed. I think it had some of the best straight line stability. Coming down the back straight, has good, roomy rider triangle, and probably the best wind protection, I think, as you mentioned earlier in the day, so it's easy to get behind the bubble. Just a good stable ride when you're pinning the throttle at 130 or 150 miles an hour.
Let's do the RSV4 Factory, which I think after our day at Buttonwillow we really kind of fell in love with.
We keep saying there's not that much to complain about when it comes to the Duck or the KTM, but with the Aprilia, that really isn't any BS. There's just little, if anything, that it did wrong. I especially like the dimensions, rider dimensions. It felt like a super sport, a 600cc inline 4 chassis.
Distilled down to one word, mine was obedient. It really felt like you could really take charge of it, and every lap you could go in a little deeper, turn in a little quicker.
Yep, and I think a lot of that is owed to the, well, basically perfect fuel mapping. Throttle response, and as opposed to running a throttle tube on a clip-on, I felt like I was directly connected to the throttle bodies with my hand. It was specifically controlling fueling. And it was that just perfect fueling. And
at Buttonwillow we're running on the track mode, which is the most aggressive throttle map, and it was still very manageable.
Yeah, so it even further kudos. In terms of its power, another impressive aspect, a little bit revier. I think you'd said it more on top. You could feel it at certain points on the track. And I noted that too. At the end of the day, even steady state throttle at 11 or 12,000 RPM, and I think it red lines around 14. It cracked the throttle at 11, 11 and a half, and it accelerates instantly. But it's not brutish in any way. It's just powerful, but very manageable and accessible motorcycle.
It's not as torquey as the Twins, of course, but I think compared to an inline-4 motor, it has a little bit more mid-range, and it seems like it has every bit on top. It's fantastic. One thing on the street, though, it's ergos that work so nice on the track. It's a little tighter on the street. Not a lot of wind protection, and you do get a little bit of vibration at, cruising down the freeway at a steady 80 miles an hour or whatever. But despite that, it's the bike that you just want to get on and ride it again.
You called it obedient. I think it's very accommodating, and it has a familiar feel to me. To get on it, I was instantly comfortable with it. It was in the first session. And that says a lot. Anytime you get on a bike that allows you to feel that comfortable that quickly, that's a huge step for any design team that can do that.
Another nice thing the other bikes don't have is a slipper clutch.
Yeah, so I think maybe we got a winner here. Maybe the duck has finally been dethroned.